Right in our studio, Tom Homan. And what kind of job is he doing so far? Let's take a look at those numbers. 1 year ago, the border was totally out of control. Now, totally in control. It is amazing. I know that the president is thrilled. So are the American people. Tom Homan, welcome, at least the sane American people. How are you? And congratulations.
Well, I can't take the credit for that. It's President Trump. President Trump has game-changing policies he came in with, and plus the men and women of the United States Border Patrol, this 60,000 men and women of CBP are doing an outstanding job.
Absolutely, absolutely. But that is incredible, the contrast. And I know we kind of know, but what did it take to pull that off?
Enforcing the law, which the Biden administration refused to do. We're simply enforcing the law. Plus, President Trump came up with some extraordinary executive orders that were proven effective during the first administration, right? Remain in Mexico, third safe country, ending catch and release. You know, following the law. The law says if you come to our border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not release you to an NGO, not put you in a hotel room with $500 a night. So President Trump's enforcing the law. And you see the difference. And, you know, during the Biden administration, we were up to sometimes 13, 14,000 a day coming across the border. The other day I walked in the White House, 95 total apprehensions across 2,000 miles of border. I've been doing this since 1984. I've never seen that. And 0 releases, 0 people being released.
So overwhelming success. And part of the reward for that, a lot of death threats, I'm sure, against you personally and your men and women. The men and women of ICE and beyond are being threatened and targeted. And I think they want to do more of that by having them remove their masks. Why would they want them to remove the mask?
It's just ridiculous. We're at the point in this country where those who enforce laws are the bad guys. Those who broke the law are the victims. But you're right, assaults against ICE officers is up over 400%. Agents are being doxxed, their home addresses, their pictures are being posted. There's actually several websites on the internet where you can post a picture of a deportation officer and give his identity and where he lives and so forth. There are pictures of him on trees and telephone poles in some of these sanctuary cities. But they go beyond that. They also threaten their spouses and their children. And look, I know firsthand, I got a lot of threats against me and my wife and kids. And so I had over 1,000 protesters in my house just 2 months ago. But on the borders, I expect that. I don't care what people think about me. I honestly don't, because I know I'm doing the right thing for this country. But the men and women who strap the gun to their hip every day and go out there and put themselves in harm's way, they don't deserve that. They're enforcing the law. If you don't like it, change the law.
And you know the law. I've seen you cite the law, letter, verse, everything. You know it. And a lot of your adversaries, a lot of people on the left who don't like these laws, they don't know the law. They don't know, and they can live in this kind of parallel universe where anything goes. Right. I just find that how do you characterize divorce from the truth, willfully ignorant, what?
You know, I think it's just hatred to President Trump and everything he stands for. Bottom line is all these people are screaming and yelling around, especially members of Congress, Democratic member of Congress who want to attack ICE, comparing to Nazis and racists. I mean, for God's sakes, they're enforcing the laws that they enacted. So if they're racist for enforcing the law, what's that make Congress? They wrote the law. They enacted the law. And they're out there, you know, executing final federal orders from a federal judge that, okay, this person had due process at great taxpayer expense. I order him deported. So they're out there enforcing laws enacted by Congress. They're executing orders from a federal judge. They're not making this stuff up. But I'm really shocked that any Democratic congressperson, any Democratic governor like you got here in Holco or your senators here, their number one responsibility is the protection of their American communities, their constituency. ICE has been clear. They're prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats. It should be a nonpartisan issue. They should be shoulder to shoulder with us. We're trying to make their communities safer. You would think they would support that.
What other numbers you're looking at now? We saw May of last year versus May this year. Great. And the border's under control, right? It is. There are a lot of illegal aliens out there. We know the numbers are probably north of 11 million. What's the plan? I mean, is it like there's a lot of people that you can go after? I know the criminals are first, but can you just kind of put that in words?
Well,
for
we
us?
are prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats. If we look at everybody we've arrested since Inauguration Day, about 75% are convicted criminals or pending criminal charges, which means we found them in the jail, which most likely means you're not a choir boy. And a lot of the collateral arrests are happening in sanctuary cities like New York. If we can't arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail or Rikers Island, and they release them because they don't honor our detainers because they're sanctuary jurisdiction, that means we got to send a whole team into the neighborhood to find somebody that don't want to be found. You arrest somebody that's on his turf and have access to who knows what weapons. So now we got to send a team of 5 or 6 to arrest this guy. And most of the time we find the bad guy, they're with others. Others that are in the country illegally. May not be a criminal target, but they're in the country illegally, where they're going to get handcuffed, taken too. Because we're not telling ICE, ignore the oath you took, ignore the immigration law. You're going to enforce the law as Congress intended. Now, in their last administration, Secretary Mayorkas told ICE agents, you can't arrest somebody for simply being here illegally. They got to be convicted of a serious offense. It's ridiculous. Totally opposite what federal statute says. So sanctuary cities get exactly what they don't want. More agents in the community, because you forced us there, and more collateral arrests, because we're going to find them when we're looking for the criminal target.
So, okay, you're going to find them when you're looking for the criminal target. So you're looking for the criminal target, and then these are kind of in the vicinity, right?
Right. Many times we're living with others, or if we have to go to a work site to arrest a bad guy, work site, there's going to be others. It's probably not the only illegal alien being hired by the employer, so we're going to take everybody. So if you want less collateral arrests, if you want less danger for the community, then let us end the jail where one agent can arrest one illegal alien criminal in the safety and security of a jail. It's safer for the alien, it's safer for the officer, it's much safer for the community. Why don't you let us in the jail? You locked him in a jail cell. You made that decision. We just want him when you're done with him.
There was a little bit, it's reported, backing off certain hotels and maybe rural facilities, agriculture, meat processing. How did that come about? Was that from the president? Did he ever tell you, okay, let's back off in that area?
It all comes back to the prioritization and the messaging. Look, we're going to do Worksite. We're not going to stop doing Worksites. Most of the Worksite investigations are based on criminal information, whether it's sex trafficking, forced labor trafficking, money laundering, tax evasion. You know, first of all, no one hires an illegal alien out of the goodness of their heart. They hire them because they work them harder, pay them less, and undercut their competition who employs U.S. citizens, right? So Worksite is just like at-large criminal operation. We'll prioritize them. If we get information on sex trafficking or forced labor where these people are being abused, not being paid, and being treated badly, we're going to go in there and we're going to do a Worksite operation. We're going to do a Worksite operation where there's criminal nexus. That's always going to be the priority. So Worksite's still going to be around, but it's going to be prioritized just like the at-large operations are.
What's the deal with Dodger Stadium? There's been some...
You know, it's just ridiculous how they stretch the truth so bad. I was out in L.A. Before the riot started. I went out there to start an operation that started the protest. We served 3 criminal search warrants on a criminal investigation, and that's what we went nuts over. It wasn't an immigration raid. It wasn't looking for people different than us. It was a result of a money laundering, tax evasion, and customs fraud case where we believe it's a part of a bigger investigation where a lot of the proceeds are funding criminal cartels in Colombia and Mexico. That's what we were doing, right? But when we have teams out, like I just said, we're forcing the neighborhoods to find these people, we got a rendezvous. After we hit one place, and we rendezvous near the next target. So we'll meet in a parking lot of a grocery store or an industrial park. So officers many times will meet in a parking lot, just a rendezvous, discuss where they're going next, and go. There was no operation at the Dodger Stadium. It's just ridiculous.
How do your people like working with the National Guard in California and the Marines? They're there legally, as we know from the Ninth Circuit. This is totally legitimate. How are they coordinating, and how do they like each other?
They're loving it. I was there the first 2 nights before President Trump made that decision, and it was bad. I mean, thousands of protesters surrounded our building. They were breaching the building. We had employees in there. We had aliens that we arrested earlier that day in there, put them at great risk. A lot of federal property damage, assault on our officers. So I thank God President Trump made that decision quickly because Gavin Newsom wasn't going to do it. So They're there to protect property and protect our officers, and it's working great.
We see the protesters going bananas and berserk all the time, testing your officers. Have you had, and this will happen in any law enforcement organization, where an officer has made a mistake, maybe has gone too far, and you have to take disciplinary action or at least investigate?
Look, our officers are well trained. If someone steps out of line, they'll be disciplined. I mean, we have a disciplinary process, but I haven't seen our officers step out of line as far as I've seen. They're a push to the brink. And there's times they could use more force than they use, but they don't, because they really do. You know, again, ICE officers, people need to remember, they're moms and dads too. They have kids too. They don't hang their heart on a hook every day to go to work and go be a bad guy. These are American patriots who put their lives on the line for this country every day, don't make a lot of money. And right now, the threats against them are at an all-time high. So they got a dangerous job, made even dangerous by the rhetoric from the Democrat people in Congress, Democratic governors and congressperson. The rhetoric is high. And what scares me the most, this rhetoric getting so far out of control, comparing ICE to racists and Nazis, it's only a matter of time until something serious happens, either to one of our officers or to a civilian that goes over the line, not just peacefully protests, but attacks an officer where deadly force has to be used. And people attack me for saying that. But I'm telling you, I've done this since 1984. I've been this a long time. The rhetoric has to be tapped down before something terrible happens.
And it's rhetoric not just from some idiot with a Twitter account or an X account. It's from the governor of California. It's from major office holders.
Absolutely. Then you have the protester when I was in L.A. throws a Molotov cocktail officer. Now, we've seen what damage a Molotov cocktail can do just a few weeks ago. It's getting serious. I just wish people would step back and think about what you're doing. I support the protest all you want, hate us all you want, but don't cross that line. We're at a place now where people think it's okay to assault a federal law enforcement officer. They think it's okay to threaten the spouse or children of a federal law enforcement officer. It's not okay. And as far as all the rhetoric, well, we're all against, you know, you can arrest the criminals with non-criminals. Since when is being in the country illegally? Since when entering the country illegally is a crime? Since when is that okay? Since when you have to commit yet another crime to have the laws enforced against you? Despite the protests, despite the out-of-control people, we're going to be out there tonight. We're going to be out there tomorrow night. We're going to be out there every night. We are not going to stop the job that President Trump promised American people we're going to do. President Trump, in my opinion, is the greatest president in my lifetime. He proves it every day. I've worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. When it comes to border security, national security, immigration enforcement, no one does it better than President Trump. You just looked at the numbers. We went from 15,000 a day to 95. Gotaways, on average, under Joe Biden, 1,800 a day got away. No number was yesterday? 23. President Trump has made great progress. He's even better than Trump 45. We're going to keep doing this job for the American people. Every criminal, illegal alien we take off the streets of New York, LA, or any other city, that city's much safer because of that, and we're going to keep doing it.
And thank you for that. And to all your men and women, Tom Homan, the border czar, we thank you, sir, very much.
Appreciate it.
Be right back.